1:44 p.m. Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. It is raining, thundering. We are now into the solar storm as well. Here's your reality check for the day. I don't always do these. I get one. Yes, that really happened. That's reality check. Yes, the Biden administration has pulled out a graph of what I would refer to as a Biden bump and used it as justification for the claim that the elections in Venezuela were not clean, fair, free, whatever. Now, they have supposedly all of the I don't want to say restrictions. They're not restrictions on voting, but they are restrictions on illegal voting. But the claim was still made using a graph showing a point where an injection occurred and they overtook, and it all happened at once. Yes, that happened. That bump is known as a Biden bump because of the vote count in Atlanta, Georgia in 2020. That was one of the few ones that had a lawsuit actually go through to discovery before being summarily dismissed and all findings sealed. Because nobody wants to rock the boat except the people that filed the lawsuits. But the judges don't. And I've been pondering, given what I seem to recall, having heard or been told about Maduro, that it wouldn't surprise me that that happened as well, because it's a communist government. Communists want to retain power and will do anything and everything to do so. There have been reports that the exit polls don't match the outcome. It's possible for two things to be true at the same time. That the liars who use the exact same tactic, who are currently running our government into the ground, using the claims that we're not allowed to make or we will be socially censored through a peer pressure system that these people had pretty much enforced via social media. Inverted totalitarianism in a crypto-fascist format. It is possible for the two things to be true at the same time. That they did that, and that they used evidence of that to make the claim. And it's also possible for it to simultaneously be true that what they're saying is actually true, and that Maduro may have actually kept himself in power again, because this ain't even the first time. Could call it a Maduro bump. We should have said there was a Maduro bump in Georgia. The man with the empanada in his drawer of his desk. Take it out, take a bite, sweet, delicious dessert in a country where the people are eating rats. because they can't afford to shop at the stores. And you can't food riot, apparently. They've got too many troops. They did have some riots a few years back. I've also heard the claim that all of this civil unrest was fomented by our government, which can also be simultaneously true. As in the previous video, sometimes it's evil versus evil. I think Jimmy Dore nailed it, that the issue with that is Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia, and it's on a continent connected to us through a little land bridge. And the scary, stupid part is that such a move could position, if we were to undermine their government there, and I'm not saying this is a good thing. So many people will suffer, but they're going to do it. If that country becomes available as a resource, pipelines built, petroleum to the entire North and South American continents, that would be the thing that stops further mass suffering due to the hyperinflation that our currency will undergo when they stop using it for the petro unit. So I had the interesting experience of waking up 20 minutes before my alarm, having previously been awakened by the onset of very hard rain. And as I opened my eyes and gained focus on like waking, I could see a light green haze in a slight grid pattern along my ceiling. I'm not saying matrix lines or holodeck walls, but they were about the size and shape of the interlock or overlap pattern of shingles on the roof. And knowing that we're in a solar storm, I'm wondering if that was some kind of electromagnetic, sensing EMF kind of thing. I know it's possible. I've had some instances of vitamin overdose that have caused me to see that in tandem with, in one case, very large amount of THC through bong water. I used wine for the bong water, and then I drank it after. That's a whole story. That was a long time ago. But more recently, I've accidentally overdosed on a vitamin that caused me to see rainbow streamers in places that were obviously sources of electromagnetic frequency transmission. It's weird seeing the magnetic field line switchbacks in the sky. Knowing what you're seeing is everything, because otherwise you're just like, oh, it was crazy. Like there were streamers. It's like, no, I know what it is that I'm seeing. I know what these things are, because there's like certain items and people and from certain places that there's a similar halo. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. So I'm not sure if it's ultraviolet or X-ray that I was seeing more directly. Ultraviolet kind of makes sense because you can kind of see somewhat on that level, but I would think that, I don't know. It's kind of where the grid lines were like the squares of or slight rectangles of shingle, because they have the even pattern with the lines, and like they have like a brick pattern, but underneath of them there's also somewhat of a pattern as they overlap. So anyways, yeah, it was a weird pattern on the ceiling. And then having checked the telemetry during that time was when we were at the highest so far on the KP index. I don't think I have much else to add. Um, Everything from the previous video still applies. That is kind of the thing to be focusing on. But I had to point out the bit with all the headlines about how these people who cheated to get into power are claiming that someone else is cheating to stay in power, as they are probably on the verge of attempting to cheat to stay into power, even though they're possibly going to fail because of just landslide. While at the same time, everything about everyone involved in this contest is something out of a biblical prophecy of the end times. That's what I got.